Hey everybody, welcome to No Plan, No Problem, the weekly D&D advice podcast where two Dungeon Masters go on a mythical quest to find 3 actionable tips for you to use in your next game. I am your Dungeon Master, Anto.
And on the train to work today, my train hit a ferry. Matthew Perkins.
You can find my stuff across the internet at icarus-games.co.uk.
And you can find my stuff over at matthewperkins.net. That joke didn't really work. But hey, here we are. We're talking about Fey stuff today, the Feywild, all that kind of Fey energy. Particularly because there's a book about the Feywild coming up, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's coming up in September or so. So the Feywild is a realm in Dungeons & Dragons, in like the kind of Forgotten Realm sense. It's one of the realms, I presume. And it is a very fairy-centric zone. It's got all of those mythological creatures like fairies, werewolves, satyr, which are like the hoofed people.
Yeah.
It's got all kinds of archfey with devious pacts. It's a fairy tale in the Brothers Grimm sense.
Yes.
You know, come here, children. I'm a witch, and here's an apple. Ha ha ha. Kids don't like apples, witches. Grow up. What are you doing? Get with the times.
I've never actually thought about that.
I'm a witch. Come here. Here's an iPod.
Yeah.
There's a boomer joke for you.
Come and take the latest TikTok trends.
Come, check out my Fortnite dance. I'm a witch.
Oh, how harrowing that would be.
Yeah. Oh man, this is turning into a Halloween episode. Now, so we're going to be talking about the Feywild as a realm and the kind of stories you can tell in that zone. So Anto, who's the first adventurer that's going to help us with our first tip today?
So the first adventurer is Mofun over on DM Academy on Reddit, and they're asking where do they find more information on the Feywild. Say I'm a fairly new GM, they've got Feywild stuff, they want to know where they can find more information on the setting and the realm of the Fey.
Okay, I think there are 2 good answers here, but one of them is not actually good. One of them's crap. So here's the crap answer.
Okay.
Dungeons & Dragons is pretty old. It's been around for a while, and so is the Feywild. Like they're publishing a book in 5th edition about the Feywild. Read it. Oh, now we know about the Feywild. Or 4th edition, they have a book about the Feywild. I'm sure they do in 3rd edition, and it probably wasn't around in 2nd edition. Who knows? And even in other RPGs, the Feywild or some kind of allegory to the Feywild exists. Yeah. There's heaps of books specific to RPGs published about them. I think that's a crap solution, though. Because I think if you want to find more information about the Feywild, man, you already know that stuff. Use your imagination. It's the Feywild.
Possibly. It might be. Maybe not, though, because a lot of people that are really new to the hobby, and 5th edition's their first tabletop RPG, it's the only one they've ever experienced, kind of delving into the vaults of previous edition isn't something that just comes to a lot of people naturally, and isn't something that they just think straight away. They think, because there's separate editions of the game, nothing before this 5th edition is going to apply to my game. Whereas they might not make that connection that, if you go and look at the Heroes of the Feywild book from 4th edition, or look at these previous editions and scour them for inspiration, the mechanics might not be the same, but all the lore and all the kind of evocative stuff that you're going to find in there will probably apply to your current game, and you can steal from it.
Well, it's interesting that you said lore then, right? Because as a realm, just like the Forgotten Realms, like in, what's it called? Faerun? Is that the world?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said that out loud. It has set locations, you know. Waterdeep is a location. The Sword Coast is a location. There are things about these locations. In the Feywild, there is lore. There are set locations.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn more about those specific locations, I suppose you're right. Maybe that is a good answer. Look at the books and look what people wrote about it. There's probably even stuff on wikis and stuff, but I don't think of the Feywild like that. I think of the Feywild as a theme.
Yeah.
And when you ask the question, where do I learn more information about the Feywild? I thought to myself, I translated it into, where do I find more information about this theme?
Yeah, I think that is definitely a valid point, because for some people, they'll take the Feywild what will attract them to the Feywild is the lore that is already written, and they'll go to the Dungeon Master's Guide, they'll read the entry on the Feywild, and they'll be like, the specific things I've read here are really cool. I want to know more of those specific things. I want to run in this place, just like people do with Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk and Darksun. They go, the specific information about this setting is really what draws me in. For other people, and I would include myself in this, it is the theme and the kind of feel that I'm more interested in. So I don't care what Wizards of the Coast say is in the Feywild. I only care that the Feywild is a place filled with fairies and fae and spirits, and all kinds of banana stuff can happen there. That's the extent that I care about what Wizards have to say about the Feywild.
I think that my favorite kind of, and it's such a simple idea, I love the idea of getting to or getting from the Feywild, because of course you can use like a plane shift spell to go to a different plane, but the way that gateways kind of present themselves, it's really, I don't know, almost nostalgic to me, like rings of, like fairy rings of mushrooms, stuff like that. Something like that could be a gateway to the Feywild, or maybe like behind a waterfall, or maybe like going through the reflection of the moon, you know, on a particular lake, you know, on a full moon. Like, just all these kind of wacky ways to enter and exit.
And the great thing about that, and the great thing about Dungeons and Dragons, is you can take those things and you can build your folk tales around them, but they can be real. So in your world, parents can say to children, don't play in fairy rings with mushrooms. It's bad luck. Just don't do it. But it's not just superstition. They do it because some of them are portals to the Feywild, and your kids are going to get snatched. Same.
Do you think the Feywilds? Do you think that people go like, yeah, the Feywild? Wow, now I'm thinking about it. I did meet a girl who believed in fairies, and she was pretty full on about believing in fairies. Later, she told me about lizard people. That's a different thing. I suppose there are people in this world who are convinced that fairies exist. Yeah. Of course, there'd be people in D&D that are convinced that fairies exist, except that they're right.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those kind of traditional folk tales can have merit, which is one of the things I think that the Feywild does so well, is you can draw on all of these aspects and go, right, okay, fairy rings are legitimately dangerous sometimes. And I think the sometimes is important, because otherwise, why would you not just burn the fairy ring as soon as you see it? Things like going through the reflection of the moon on a lake, all of these things are super evocative, and I think they matter much more than what the books necessarily say. So if you want more information on the Feywild, I would immediately turn to like superstition and folktale and those kind of areas.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. But I think that you actually nailed the tip earlier when you said include the Feywild in your folklore in your game. Like, that's such a cool way to seed the Feywild and also like inform your world. But I do want to add one thing to this question answer as well. You can just watch Dale Kingsmill. She's got great videos about fairy stuff and legends. Like, I think most of the stuff that I learned about ancient history and those legends is just from her videos.
Yes, Dale's got excellent videos that connect history and folktale to D&D games, and that is one of the best ways to draw kind of little details for your setting, is to go into history and to go into myth and legend and folktales and pull those little bits out.
Her channel is called Monarch's Factory. Anto, do you think that we can send her a clip of this and a bill?
Yeah, I think that would be reasonable. I think she'd be on board with that.
Because she's our friend, I guess. Hey, now it's time to roll for friendship.
Let's do this thing. I almost didn't get us into that section. I clicked the button and it just didn't do anything. But we're here now. Oh, no. So if you want to be our friend, the best way to do that is to interact with us online. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just down there beneath us, there's an old comments box. Just drop a comment in there. Tell us what you think of this episode, if there's anything we missed. How would you incorporate folktales into your game? be especially interested if you are outside of sort of the US, the UK, and Australia, what your local folk tales are. Kind of tell us in the comments so that we can all steal them and incorporate them into our game. If you're listening to us on any number of podcast services, those 5-star reviews really help us out and boost us to other people. And then if you want to help support us even more, we do have a Patreon where we post pre-shows where we get warmed up, as well as PDF content for extra rules for all kinds of different things. And that's a really great way to help us out, keep the lights on, and keep Matt fed.
Keep me fed. Yeah. I need food, please. I need food. I really like that idea of hearing people's like kind of myths and legend from their local areas. In Australia, Indigenous Australians, they have a great creation story about like a serpent, and there's all kinds of like really interesting creatures and spirits out there. Like there's I remember lots of childhood cartoons in the morning about like bunyips, who are like these kind of monsters out in the bush. Sometimes they appear as monsters, sometimes they're like spirity type things in different media, but then briefly they were also like an Australian challenge to the Kinder egg, where it's like, no, you can get a bunyip, and it's like an egg, and you open it and there's like a little monster in there. It's really cute. That's not really a creation myth, the chocolate egg.
All of Australia was born from this Kinder egg.
And it's assembled by the Prime Minister. No. All right, let's get out of this area. Thank you for rolling for friendship. Let's go.
And we're out. We're free.
We're free. We're free of that. Now we don't have to pretend to be friends with each other anymore, Anto. We can thrive as enemies like we were born to be. Sorry for saying that just as you were drinking. It is now time for a middle segment of our show called Stuff to Steal. This is where we look at a media franchise or something out there that we want to rob. We do a crime. We're going to do a crime to something today. And we're going to import these ideas into our conversation about Feywild and into our D&D games. And today I want to take a look at Disney fairy tales, specifically the animated movies. Any of them that have that kind of fairy tale bent. And like things that qualify, I'm thinking Snow White. I'm thinking The Little Mermaid. I'm thinking there are other movies.
Yeah,
there are other
movies. They've made many movies.
I've seen a movie before. But so many of them are like ripping off old folk tales and then putting a copyright symbol on them.
Yes.
So I want to rob them.
Bring it full circle and rob them.
What's paying it forward but for crime? Oh yeah, revenge.
Revenge.
So what do you reckon? What Disney movies stick out to you, like from your childhood?
So the one that jumps out at me, I believe it's Snow White, the poisoned apple. That is the very first thing that comes to mind for me.
Really?
With kind of the witch in the woods, the poisoned apple, the kind of luring people in.
We foreshadowed this.
Yeah. But
I always used to watch... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, my childhood movie was The Little Mermaid. I rented it so often that my parents bought a copy.
I think that something that stands out to me as kind of a common thing among a lot of the animated Disney movies is the idea of curses. So many of them are predicated on a curse of some kind. You eat the poison apple, you are cursed to slumber. A lot of slumbering going on. You've been cursed to transform into a beast. You've been cursed to lose your voice. And I think that kind of dark bargain comes in to play a lot in these kind of folktales, in the Grimm stories, and into what we would translate into being Feywild stuff in D&D is this idea of corrupt bargaining between a fey creature and a mortal, and the fey creature going to the mortal, yeah, of course, I will definitely give you this thing. I'm not going to curse you.
Yeah, no curse. They don't call me No Curse Jones for nothing. And then like the player leaves and then no just falls off the sign.
Just like
Curse Jones. Now, what I really like this idea, because curses are definitely in the realm of Disney and in the realm of Fae stuff. What other curses are there? Let me just have a think here. I would say that like Ariel's bargain with Ursula to trade her voice for legs. I'd counter that kind of transaction as a curse or a bargain. There's the poison apple. Hello, doctor. I ate an iPod and now I keep falling asleep. I'm dying. There have got to be other curses.
Yeah, there's the beast's curse,
that's
which
very
turns
cursy.
him into a beast.
And now I keep coming back to the Lion King, but I don't think it's relevant to this one. Lion King's for another episode, probably, when we record our Lions episode.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those are three different kinds of curses that are direct from Disney. There is a kind of curse that gives you some kind of status affliction, like you fall asleep, and you become a set piece with no agency.
Yeah.
There's a kind of curse that gives you some kind of transformation. You were something, and now you are something else, and you have to kind of reconcile that difference. And then the other curse is, I forgot what it was.
It was
you trade something.
Yeah.
You gain something, you lose something. I reckon that's pretty much every curse in the world.
Yeah, I think that if we think of it, if we separate out the mechanics and think of the narrative, those three curses serve three different narrative purposes. So I would say the only one of those three curses I'd want to inflict on the players is the bargain one, because it's the only one in which they have agency in it. So they can trade something and they get cursed in return. I think that the transformation, kind of like the beast curse, that's a great one to put on an NPC that the players can interact with, because they can learn, oh, maybe this person isn't quite the beast that they said they were, or
maybe
this person,
you can love.
Yeah, or this person that looks like a normal person is actually a beast, and the man is the mask and the beast is the real one. And that could prompt some interesting interaction between that NPC and the players. And then the curse to fall asleep, that is a good motivator for, here's why you have to go on your quest. This important person has been cursed and is asleep. You have to travel out and interact with the Feywild to break this curse. You are the only one strong enough or stupid enough to go and try and interact directly with the Feywild, to step through the fairy ring behind the waterfall to try and save this NPC.
Yeah. Can you imagine the number of people that have like tried to run through walls or like jump into lakes and go, I'm going to the fairy realm? They just end up bruised or wet.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really interesting distinction. And I think we're going to circle back to that being the tip of this. The idea of there are some mechanics and rules that are meant to and work best when applied to non-player characters, and there are others that work best when applied to player characters. Yeah. And usually the ones that apply best to player characters are the ones that have some kind of agency, or that entity is complicit somehow in that story beat. Because
or it's ones that the players can take an active kind of role in undoing. So if they slumber, they can't do anything to break that slumber themselves. They're relying on other people. If they turn into a beast, maybe they can do something themselves, but unless they lose some of their agency, the fact that they are a beast doesn't make a huge difference, because we're in a world where there are minotaurs and leonin and all these other non-human races. So unless they are losing some of their control when they turn into the beast, the being a beast isn't a massive deal. It's only as big of a deal as the player considers it to be.
Did you ever see that Beauty and the Beast live action remake, like before they were doing remakes pretty much, and it was like a modern day reimagining where it's like the high school jock, you know, and he was didn't care about anybody.
No, I didn't, but it sounds awful.
Tangent. So this high school jock or something like that, he's really successful and he's rich, and his parents take care of him, and he's like really rude to this woman that turns out to be a witch, or something like that, and she curses him so that I think he falls off his motorbike horribly or something, but it's definitely part of the curse. And he ends up like hideously deformed, apparently, according to the script. It said this man is hideously deformed, but the actor was like this beautiful man, and he was just like bald now and like covered in scars. It's like, hey, I'm so sorry you've got all those scars now that make you look like a badass.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're a total babe now. And it was just weird that he was going like, I'm hideous, and everyone was going, I can still love you. It's like, of course you can still love this ripped, beautiful, scarred man.
It's funny because even in the original animated Beauty and the Beast, everyone's like, oh, the Beast is a monster. The Beast is hot. Like, as far as beasts go, he is a handsome-looking beast.
Yeah. Beast means, in modern parlance, beast is good. If you call someone a beast, you're not insulting them. You're like, man, that dude's a beast. Like, yeah, he is.
So that's a little bonus tip there. If you're gonna curse someone, if you're gonna curse someone to make them a beast, actually make them a beast, and don't just make them attractive.
I curse this and I'm beautiful. I'm so handsome. Why am I cursed so?
That would be such a good curse. Like, I'm going to curse you to be the most beautiful creature in all of the realms. That would be horrible.
Oh, what's this episode about?
The Feywild.
Okay. What was it? Did you write down an actual tip or not?
I don't think we got to a tip.
Okay, I think the tip should be some mechanics should apply to NPCs and some mechanics should apply to players, and you should work on being able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
You beautiful beast. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. I laughed so hard I forgot what we do next. I think there's meant to be another tip coming, and I think that you're going to read it. Who's help? Get someone to help us, please.
There is another tip coming. I will find it.
Okay, I'll fill time by drinking water quietly.
Yeah, you fill time by drinking water quietly so that no one can hear it while I try and...
It's an audio medium. Oh, God. I'm so sorry you guys actually just got to hear. I have 3 levels of laugh. Here's my first level of laugh, and I do this when something's not funny.
That's the only laugh of yours I've ever heard.
Okay, my second layer of laugh is I don't laugh. I say, that's funny. You know? That's my genuine laughter. I don't laugh. I say, that's funny.
Yeah.
My real laugh is that Elmo thing that you just heard. I just, that's funny. Oh, I just tickle me Elmo out.
I can't get a link for this one because I've deleted the link, but it comes from Plush Python over in r/AskGMs, and they say, in what way can I make fey creatures a bigger threat?
Bigger threat? Ooh.
So,
do you think they're thinking like combat?
Possibly. I think they probably... I would interpret it as, how do I make my fey creatures feel scary?
Oh, that's a way better question. Hey, we fixed your question, Plush. We fixed it for you. No, I'm sorry. Thank you for asking the question. Okay, how to make them feel scary? Yeah, that's a good point. Because a lot of them are kind of cute. You know, fairies, satyr, they're fairy. Like, you know, there's some gnarly stuff in there. But even then, like, they're scary in the sense like Galadriel, where it's like, oh, you know, they're beauty unknown. Don't look at them. You'll fall in love. It's like, I'm not scared of that. What are you talking about? I just fought a spider.
That is an excellent analogy for where I would take this. So Galadriel is a great example. She is resoundingly agreed to be a beautiful creature that everyone who looks upon her is like enamored by her. But as we see when the Fellowship spend time there, she has this very dark side to her that if we can assume if she was to indulge that side, she would be a dark and terrible queen, beautiful and terrible as the dawn. So
you know so much about Lord of the Rings. You know all the quotes.
So
I've never remembered anything.
Having that kind of distinction and the kind of dark reflection, I think, is very fey. So things appear one way, but they are a different way. One way that I would do it, so how I have some Feywild stuff in my game, the Feywild in my setting is ruled by a queen called Krulova, and she has a court of knights who ride out and kind of snatch people who've broken their bargain with the Fey Queen and drag her back to the Fey Court. Up until now, in my brain, they've all been like, if you like the Wild Hunt from The Witcher 3, skeletal riders, scary-looking creatures. But I think it's much more interesting if when they first appear, they look like the archetype for the painted knight. They're on beautifully dressed horses. They're wearing gleaming plate. They have exquisite heraldry, and that is how they appear until they find the thing they're looking for, or until the circumstances change, and then they transform and they are horrible visages with skeletal faces, and they're riding undead horses, and that's when they use their chains to drag you back into the Feywild to fulfill your end of the bargain. So you get that mix of beautiful and deadly.
Yeah, you want to like show that little dichotomy there. I think that's a good idea. But when I think of fear and like the imposing nature of Fey creatures, I think it's a mix of, first, you demonstrate that they are powerful, right? You have some kind of artifact, you demonstrate that they're powerful, right? And then you demonstrate that they are amoral.
Yeah.
They're not mad, they're not evil, but whatever your moral system is, they're not bound by it. You know what I mean? They're not bound by it. And it's kind of like a situation, I heard it like in a TV show like 10 years ago or something, someone saying, if you and I are standing with a gun pointing to each other and we each have a briefcase full of money, if I say to you, give me your briefcase or I will shoot you, then, you know, what would your response be? And the guy says, oh, I would not give you the briefcase because I have a gun and you know I have a gun and we could, you know, we're on equal playing fields. He goes, okay, but what if I'm screaming, I'm yelling, I'm waving in your face, I'm slamming my briefcase on the ground saying, give me the briefcase, give me the briefcase. Then the other guy would have to go, well, I would definitely give you the briefcase because I can't rely on your logic or you're not a reliable source of like being moral here, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of feel about Fey creatures. Give them the gun, which is they're powerful, and then kind of take away their reason and be like, you can't rely on this person to behave reasonably.
Yeah, I think that is a great kind of defining trait of the Fae, is just how untrustworthy they are. You can't rely on the Fae to act in the kind of ways that you typically expect. So there's loads of ways that you can exploit that with your players going, right, okay, we're going to go and hide in this place, or we're going to use something either physically or, you know, metaphorically as a shield against these creatures, and they just don't care. They will burn cities to the ground to get to you without a second thought, and it won't even be a last resort. This is the most efficient way to get through this towards our goal, and we will just go through it.
Critical Role's been to the Feywild a couple of times. I nearly spoiled something just trying to think about it, but like I can't get into it. Here's the thing: people that know what I'm talking about, and they're going, yeah, they're all nodding. I can hear them nodding. Okay, but there was a scene with Critical Role in the Feywild that to me demonstrates like the power and amorality. But I don't actually see it the same way as you do there, I think, where like if you're saying if they had a goal, they wouldn't care if they would destroy the whole village. I think that a key component is that their goal is not something that's materially important to anyone else. It's like their goal isn't I'm going to become powerful or I'm going to become wealthy or I'm going to avenge this. It's like I'm going to walk up the hill every day because that's what I do. And I don't care what's in the way. There's a city in the way. What I do is I walk up the hill.
Yeah.
You know? So what's the tip for this one then? What can we do for this making Fey creatures a bigger threat? What do you feel? I trust you here.
I think that playing with their like stripping them of morality is probably the tip, because there is a big difference between an evil character and a character with no morals. Like I think that because an evil character is a selfish character, but a character with no morals, they will do heinous things, but they're not doing it necessarily because they enjoy it or for their own benefit or anything. Like, it is just what needs to be done, or what it is like a means to an end.
It's a whim, you know, and it's not like they're not happy. It's not like they're angry. It's just like, oh, this is what I wanted to do. This is what I do. It's fine.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
The idea of being like doggedly pursued by a creature that just shows very little like human understanding emotion. Like, you know, you do something to them, they don't get angry about it. They're just like, okay, you've done that. Now I will do this to you.
And sometimes they might not even like be able to understand other people's moral systems or be able to understand other people's emotions. Like, oh, like they might terrify you and think something like, oh, I didn't know you were scared.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been scared. I don't know what that feels. You know, I don't care. That's a great idea. I've really enjoyed talking about the Feywild. Yeah. Do you have 3 tips in front of you?
I do.
Give me your 3 riddles.
My riddles 3. So tip 1 is to include the Feywild in the folklore of your world as a way to kind of seed them and introduce them naturally. Tip 2 is that some mechanics should apply to NPCs. Some should apply to players only. And it's important for you to be able to tell the difference of what applies to who and when. And then tip 3 was to strip the Fae of all of their morality and have them be completely amoral creatures.
Yeah. Why didn't we have the Stuff to Steal be Alice in Wonderland? Like, why are we so stupid? We talked about that scarred, handsome man for what felt like an hour.
Talk about how hot Beast is. Didn't even touch on Wonderland.
We didn't even touch the Wonderland. We definitely can't make that scarred guy the thumbnail. Nobody will get it.
I mean, I don't get it. If you can find a picture of this scarred guy, I will absolutely make it the thumbnail.
Okay. It wouldn't be... I'll send you a picture, but don't make it the thumbnail, because otherwise, I don't know, YouTube might demonetize us. Not that we make any money. Hey, everybody, my name is Matthew Perkins, and you can find all my stuff over at matthewperkins.net.
And my name is Anto. You can find my stuff across the internet at icarus-games.co.uk.
I nearly said matthewperkins.fay, but then I realised, like, well, that's not a web address. No, that won't go anywhere. No. Let's get lost. So the song that plays us out every week is called Altogether by a band called House Hats. Everybody, leave a YouTube comment with your. We want to hear your local myths in your culture. We want to know what's your version of the Fae. We're very interested. Thanks so much for listening. This has been No Plan, No Problem. Goodbye.
Bye.